So, I'm going to continue where we left off yesterday on our contact application. If you're new to joining us, we are working on this application, which you can find in GitHub at github.com/jguadagno/contacts, which I am posting into the chat right now. We essentially introduce the app. I won't cover the outline, but this outline will go through everything that we are, everywhere where we have been and everywhere where we plan on going. So we wrapped up yesterday with adding a new endpoint to our API, and I believe the endpoint was get phone contacts. I didn't work on adding documentation or anything, but we validated it worked. I didn't put it in here, although we have test cases for it. So let me just put in this, get the phones for contact. And this was just a get call. And it was at HTTPS localhost 501/contact/ I think it was 37 we used, and then phones. So let's make sure it works. I'm going to hit play. It should prompt us with a new page. And let's go and check our HTTP request to make sure that this particular run runs. And we get a not found. Oh, it helps if I type contacts right. There we go. So that's where we left off yesterday, that was working. But if you notice, we put it in the contacts controller. Now, we may or may not want to leave it here in the contacts controller. I personally don't want to leave it in the contacts controller because I really think it should be separate. Even though it's still part of the contacts itself, it has its own functionality like add, update, remove, and delete, which is going to cause a lot of extra fluff here. But at the same time, it's really part of just the contacts. And if we add in other endpoints to ours, do we really want a separate controller? So let's just keep it here from now. Worst comes to worst, we can refactor it. So now we are going to need to add in the ability to get a single ID. So let's do a get. And then this template will be similar to the previous one. We're going to do ID and then /phones. And then we are going to need a phone ID because we're going to want to get the individual phone number for it. So now we go public. This should be phone, get contact phone, and then the int of contact ID, comma, int of phone ID. And then we are going to want to return the underscore contact manager dot get contact phone and give it an ID, comma, phone ID. Now this should be contact phone, not phones. IntelliSense got the best of me. If we look at it, it's going to say create a method, I get contact phone. We're going to want to do that, but I don't think this creates it in the way that we're going to want to see it. So let's go back and do what we did here. And in each of our repositories, create the method. So here we are going to return a phone called get contact phone. And this is going to want to get an int contact and then int phone ID. And then we are going to want to do the same for addresses ultimately. So let's go and add those in just so we don't have to keep coming back to it. Get contact address. And then this would be address ID. And let's go to the data store. Actually, let's just copy this out. Go to the data store. Add those two methods. And go to the contact manager and add those two methods. So now we have those added. Now we're going to have to go back up the chain and populate them. Let's start off with the contact manager and finish the rest of them. So doing 4, and I'm just gonna get a little lazy and rename it int phone ID. This is going to be contact ID, comma, phone ID. And this is going to be get contact addresses, int contact ID, and then this is going to be addresses, contact ID. This is get contact address, where you want contact ID, and int address ID, addresses. No, this should be address. Now, if I got all this right, get contact phone, get contact address, get contact address. So these should all be right. Now we have to get them implemented in the repository. So let's go with a public phone, get contact phone, return underscore contact.data store, get contact phone, contact ID, phone ID, and then do the same for address, public list of address, get contact addresses, and then we want an int of contact ID, and then we are going to return underscore contact data store dot get contact address. Oops, I forgot to change these. This should be an address. This should be an address. That's the problem when you do copy paste development. You forget things here or there. Luckily, the tooling is smart enough to tell me that I made a mistake. But kids, don't try this at home. You should really type out the stuff yourself. I just got lazy. Now we should start seeing less of the lines for it. So this is get contact addresses, and we want the contact ID to be part of it. Now we go to public address, get contact address, and then return int the contact ID, address ID. Now we are good. Now the hard work is just in the repository. As you can see, it's already red complaining that we are missing something. That's only because we're missing those 4 methods. So let me just put in the method so that it doesn't complain. Phone, get contact phone. And luckily, Writer is smart enough, just like Visual Studio is, to tell us that we need to go and add in that and give us the actual parameters for it. I just chose to ignore them for some reason instead of typing. So for this one, we want a var db phone equals underscore contact dot phones dot where phone dot contact ID equals contact ID and phone dot phone ID equals phone ID. Now, one of the things you'll notice is the phone ID is actually unique to the phone number. So it's not like I'm going to have, if I have 2 phones for each client, have a 1 and a 2 for every client or every contact. It's only going to be 1. So in theory, we can get rid of this. And we'll see that in a little bit. I'll go and get rid of that once we show this works. We'll do what's called some refactoring. And now we need to return back the non-database object. So this is going to be not a list, but a domain models.phone and pass in the db phone object. And now return phone. Actually, we can just go and do the straight return. I like doing it this way in case we need to have a breakpoint for it. And this is going to complain because I am using the word phone. So let's go and change this to be more standard with everything else and just use the first letter, which is typical. And I don't know why I did the full word phone here. Normally just do the first letter. Okay. And now we have to do the addresses. If you're part of the stream yesterday or watched the video yesterday, you notice in the domain object, we had to add a reference property inside of the contact, or sorry, inside the phone. So from the phone standpoint or from the contact standpoint, you can navigate down to addresses and phones. But up until yesterday in phones, you couldn't navigate back up. So we added this property. We'll need to do the same thing for address type. We need to add a contact property. Now we'll be able to navigate back up and complete this. So lazy me doesn't feel like typing, so we are going to do this the Stack Overflow way of copy paste. And then this is going to return address. This is going to return address. This should be addresses where A equals A dot A to list, map address. Let's do a little rename of view. Addresses. We actually want this to be db addresses. And then this should be addresses. That's good. db address. And then this we're going to rename to A. In this one, we want address, a dot address ID, and let's rename you to address ID, and then do a rename of you to address, and then you to address. There's a lot of renames, but might have been easier just to type it out, but I tend to make spelling errors when I type. So this is good. And what do I get here? Contact addresses. What are you complaining about? Oh, we don't want this to be a list. We want you to just be an address. And the same thing with you. So benefits of copy paste, you have a lot of typos to fix. Let me make sure it builds. Do Control-Shift-B. Oh, why are we not building? I got my key strokes wrong. Oh, Shift window B. Hey, if you're in the chat or in the stream, say hi. I should say type hi, not say hi, because I can't hear you if you say it. So now we should be going all the way up to at least the contact manager. And I'm going to go and add the test cases for it in a little bit. Let's just go getting it into the API. So we are going to want to create additional ones here, and I'm not learning from my mistake by doing this. So we're going to want phones, and then let's assume it's contact ID 1. We're going to, or phone ID 1, but we're going to have to change that. And then this should be addresses /1. Get the phone for a contact by phone ID, and then get the addresses for contact and get the address by ID for contact. So we still have to actually physically add addresses and that stuff to it, but I want to at least get that part ready. Hello, Gertie, welcome. I think you're new to it. Did I pronounce it right? Griety, Griet1. Font's really small on the other screen, so it's hard to tell. Let's go to the controller now. And we already added the get phone contact, so let's copy and paste and add the same for addresses. Addresses, get phone, address, contact, addresses, and then this should be addresses, address ID, get contact, address, address ID, contact, address, address ID. So we got this working. This should return an address. This should return address. And I got double of that for some reason. Now we should be good to go. So now if we run this app, I should be able to do contacts 37/phones and see there's an ID of 2 and do 2. Missing mapping. Oh, I did this yesterday too. Silly me. There's a mapping mistake in the data store. What did I get wrong? Map, phone, where, phone ID. What did I miss? Which one was it failing on? Queryable to phone. Oh, because the I hate when this happens. I'm gonna go look at the get contact because yeah, since we did a where, we're getting a list back, but we really want to do first or default here. That will come back with a phone model. If I do where, it comes back with a queryable, and then I have to adjust it. Same thing here, first or default. Now if I rerun it, it should work. Here we go, we got 2. And we don't have any addresses yet for anyone in the database, so let's go and add an address. So let's go back to our API samples, which are here, and go and add a phone number. So let's do an update. I should have an update somewhere. Oh, no, I don't. Well, let's go create an update. So I'm going to go grab this contact information. Actually, let's do 17. I'm going to keep number 1 pristine for now. And then we had here save a contact with valid phone and addresses. Let's go and do that. Just for future, we can't redo this. Well, I can technically redo this one. In just case Brady's not on the call or on the meeting today, we can at least call him out again on it. So we are going to want 1 or more addresses. So let's do address ID, which is no. What is in our address property? Should probably know this by now. I'm just gonna paste these objects here so we can see. So we got the address ID, which should be blank. Street address 123 Main Street, secondary address, second floor, unit. I'm just putting text in to see if we can save it. See if we can see it. Chandler. Oops, need to put in the city. I could actually go straight to the database and do this, but we also at the same time want to make sure that the API is working. AZ, country, US, and then postal code 85248. That in quotes because it's a string. I have to close the quotes. And that should be good. We're actually going to add another phone number here just to show that we get different unique IDs. Let's copy this bad boy out so I don't have to type everything again. This is 555-1212. And the extension is 12345. Now we go and post this, we should see a new contact. Let's just not pick on Brady, but give it to someone else so we can see some uniqueness. Jane, Alice, Doe, Jane.a.doe@example.com, and here's where she lives. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to run this post. It was created. We can look down here if I expand this and see that it was created as contact 38. And if we go and view contact 38, we can see that she has a phone number of 3, phone number of 4. Oh, addresses didn't work. Oh, addresses might have worked. We're just not returning them. This get individual contact is returning the phone numbers. That was something we added yesterday, but we'll probably take away. So let's see if we can view her phones like we did with the Brady contact. We got 2 of them. I just want to see number 3. We're good to go. We can see number 3, and let's make sure we see number 4. We're good to go. So let's take a look at the addresses. Oh, there are no addresses. Let's see if the address is actually saved in the database or if our API is wrong. So we come back here and look at our addresses. And the addresses did not save. What did I do wrong? Let's go and take a look at the repository and see what's up. So first step to go and check is our contact manager and look at our save contact. So we check anniversaries, check birthday, the save contact works. There's nothing there explicitly calling out the objects. Save contact repository. Let's go. No, I don't want usages. Let's go and check the create contact. Save contact just goes and does a pass through. We don't really do anything with that. And let's go and look at the SQL repository to see if the save does anything particular. So we get contact, get contacts, save contact. Nothing is special there. So let's do a handy breakpoint just to make sure that we're getting the object and we're getting the mapping correctly. I'm guessing the mapping is wrong or it's not being fully populated across. Let's just double check. So we're going to stop the app, debug it, and save Jane Doe again. Jane Doe. Oh, here's why it didn't work. Addresses. Duh. Typed it wrong. Addresses is plural, so it saw this and I don't know what to do with it and just dropped it. So now if I save it, oh, cancel. Let's go back and where's my here? Let's rerun this. And we don't need to hit this breakpoint because now it's physically populated. Hit the wrong play button. Now if we check the database, There we go. We got an address 123 Main Street. So now if we check our addresses, oh, still 38 worked. I assume she was 39. I didn't look. No, honestly, you can't tell a woman what her age is, even if you know it. So addresses work. And now address 1 works. So now we have the ability to get all the phone numbers and addresses for a given client. We could in turn do like we did with the phone numbers to be consistent and return. Oh, all the addresses are coming back because I included it. So now we get all the addresses, but if we go to just the list of contacts, we want to say, ultimately what we'll want to do is put what's called a HATEOS link, HATEOS. The addresses go to get more information on the phones, go here. So now that we have the ability to get those, we are going to want to include the documentation for it. So if you notice, in all the other methods, we have a whole bunch of stuff related to what the method does, but we don't have any of that defined for these new methods. So let's go and add it. Again, I'm going to copy and paste, and then we'll go and change it only because it's a lot of repeat. So get this one is individual. Well, this should be get contact phones. So here is get the numbers for the contact, the primary ID to contact, and this on phone. It turns a 200 or not, so that's good for get specified phone for the specified contact. I need all that other fluff around contact manager. Primary identifier, this is telling me I don't have a parameter, so I do that. Edit the primary identifier of the number. And then this gets the addresses for the contact. This returns a list of address. And then that's good. Gets a specific phone for a specific contact. And then it's missing the ID, the primary identifier of the address. And to tell you if you're typing any words wrong, which, as you've seen if you've watched this stream or videos, I do quite a bit. So I don't have the Swagger API open. We're going to go by doing this. As soon as I hit play, the Swagger documentation is going to be generated. And if I refresh this page, you'll see now we have 4 points listed, and we can actually run them. So if I do try it out now and do 38, hit execute, we get a list of all of Jane Doe's items. The only other thing remaining to do with this is to add unit tests. We kind of tested live with everything to make sure it worked, but ideally you want to add the test here to at least make sure your functionality works. Luckily you got everything compiled, so we're able to see that it worked, but we still want to make sure that everything works. Oh, do get up a build pipeline at some code. Make sure we are at 80% more code coverage. Here, addresses, turn list address. There you go. And we're going to want to do the same thing for address. Then address with valid contact ID and address ID should return a list of addresses. Just address. I gotta get addresses. And get address. If you're not sure what I'm doing with the mocking, you can check out. There is a introduction to mocking or adding mocking to this. It kind of speaks to what we are doing. Essentially, we're not going to the database. We're taking out our business layer. Make sure it works. Is an int com is it turns comma 1 address and address. So setup repository get address specifies it is any int. Make sure closing there, and then this returns, right? What are you complaining about? Dot contact is the int followed by is any int, closing it dot. Why is it thinking it's an address? And you are cleaning. What am I saying? Introduce bar setup. That's fine. Locking it, telling it for an address when we call get contact address. Returns is not working. Let's go back and take. Just to show us, but it makes sense for us to go back, double check everything. So we'll keep it the way it is. Test, run, and pass. Sure this runs. Since we're typically not adding any business logic to gets, there's kind of no reason for us to validate the thing, so I don't usually create a lot of complex tests around it. This just makes sure we're getting at least an object. We're good. Need to do the phone number now. There I say I copy and paste this one and do the phone number. Get address, get phone with valid. Phone should return phone, 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 contact phone, should return new phone. There we go. Run this. We should be good. All of our unit tests are now working and it looks like inclusive. So let's just run them all again. Make sure we get all success across the board, which we do. Welcome new follower. Sean 1 2, and you are not appearing on screen. I gotta figure out why aren't working. I got the, hopefully you heard the noise, but the screen, the priority wrong on the screen. The alerts should be at the top. Look in a minute. Okay. I'm glad you know which way is it? Chris or Pewitt. I know two Woodies and people always get confused. I assume Chris Woodruff, aka Woody. But welcome for coming. Wrapping up our API conversation around this context to make sure we got everything buttoned up just before we are ready to publish it. Where tomorrow we will probably work on the security portion of it. Let's see if there's anything else we need to do. We got all points. We got cases, they're all passing. We got the validation. We got the Swagger working and updated. I think that is all for the API. Before tomorrow, we are ready to move it to adding security to it. It'll be quite fun because I've actually before, and I keep saying I want to do it, so we'll learn how to do it together on here. So I'm going to go off a couple of blog posts that Brady gave me, which are getting started with the Microsoft Identity, and then this new Microsoft Identity Web Framework. So we're going to experiment with that tomorrow, probably around 4 Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern, maybe on how my day at work is going. Until then, thanks for joining. You're done. If any questions, feel free to reach out to me on any one of the social media. Again, thank you for joining, John, and I look forward to you guys coming back. Thanks. Have a great day.